masterclass with Stephanie Hesler, How Your Thinking Drives Your Results, Part 2. I'm going to make a quick introduction to Stephanie. Stephanie Hesler is a high-performance coach. She helps high-achieving leaders who want to rapidly advance their careers and create a vision others want to follow, but are tired of feeling stuck. Therefore, Stephanie guides her clients through a transformational coaching journey called the Bliss Accelerator to turn their goals and dreams into reality. Previously, she worked in the investment business, including on Wall Street for 16 years. She earned her MBA at the Wharton School and her BA at Wellesley College. All right, Stephanie, thank you so much for joining us today.
Wonderful to be here. And I'm so grateful to you and Tien for hosting me and for the opportunity to be part of your community. And also I want to express my gratitude to all of you who are here. And I'd love to see just who's in the audience today. If you participated last week, I'd love to see, type in a 1. And if you're new today, if this is your first session, type in a 2. Oh, great. So we've got a few. Oh, good. We've got a few new ones, but mostly all of you are returning. That is great. I'm really glad to hear that. So our key objectives, you heard me talk about this last week, is in this masterclass is number 1, to help you understand the power of your thinking, the power that your thinking has on your results, how it creates your reality. And then number 2 is to motivate you, to encourage you to really embark on your own cleanse, to cleanse your limited thinking. And I'll be talking today about encouraging you to participate in your own 7-day mental cleanse, so to speak. I have so much to share with you today, just like I did last week. We're barely going to be able to scratch the surface of everything that I can share with you. And I'm offering 5 complimentary strategy consultations to the first 5 people who email me. And Avery, if I could just ask you to drop my email into the chat. Thank you so much. So let's go ahead and just do a quick review also of last week's key takeaways. So last week was part 1, and we talked about gaining clarity around your goals, how very important it is to be aware of what it is that you want to achieve so that you can generate and create thinking that supports you in the direction that you want to go in. Number 2, how important it is to identify, to start to really pay attention and notice your habitual thinking. And then number 3, to help you build awareness around training your thoughts, training yourself to think thoughts that support you in achieving the results that you want. You had a worksheet that I shared with you last week. And the purpose of the worksheet was to help you to, get clarity around your goals, identify those dominant thoughts that come up for you every day, and then to help you to interrupt limited thinking and reframe it into more life-affirming thinking. And Avery, I'd love to, if you could help me now with the poll. We have a quick poll that we want to take. And that poll is, especially for those of you who participated last week, I am more aware of the quality of my thoughts during the past 7 days than I had been previously. If you feel your awareness around your habitual thinking has been enhanced, I'd love to see some yeses. If you feel that it hasn't really, or if you're just not sure, I'd love to see kind of how you're all coming out in terms of building your awareness around your habitual thinking, and particularly those limiting patterns that just subconsciously are creeping up on us. I love this poll feature that we have with Zoom, because then we can really see where everybody stands in terms of the information. So Susan was asking, can you reshare the worksheet? Gosh, that's the worksheet from last week. I'm not sure if we have, Avery, do you know if we have that one today? We might have to send that to you.
Let me find it.
Okay,
I got it.
great. Thank you. Yep. So you will have actually 2 worksheets, the one from last week, and then you'll later today, you'll have one for today as well. Okay. So 66% of you are more aware of the quality of your thoughts. Well, that is good. I'm very pleased at those results. That really makes me happy to hear. Small percentage say no. And then 34% of you say not sure. And I realize that some of you weren't here last week, so maybe some of you are in that not sure category. And maybe some of you who were here last week really haven't yet built that, that awareness around your habitual thinking. So that means that we've still got more to learn and absolutely more to apply. And Avery, thanks so much for helping me with the poll. So today is part 2. This is the last session of our 2-part masterclass. And today I have 2 goals for you today. Number 1 is to help you better understand your mind and your thinking, and so that you can use it in service of achieving the goals that you want. Your mind is actually designed for your success. But if you're not conscious or aware of how it works, unconsciously, you can use it against yourself. So I want you to be aware of how to use it effectively to support you in your success. And number 2, the second key takeaway for today is that you're going to learn some techniques to create your own empowered thinking. And I want to invite you to, embark on your own 7-day mental cleanse in earnest. And I'm going to be giving you some techniques and guidelines for that. Now, as I mentioned last week, I do reference the book, The 7-Day Mental Diet, which is, I know Tien is also a big fan of this book. He and I are both just huge fans of this book. I've probably read this book probably by now 50 times. I've read it over and over again. It's a short book. It's like an essay. The copy that I have is from BN Publishing. It's not in print anymore, but you can get a secondhand version. And Avery, if I could just ask you to drop that Amazon link for the book into the chat as well. So today we are in our second part. Okay, so a week ago, we started part 1, and I encouraged you for 7 days to work on the assignment daily that you had last week. Today, we are here for part 2. And like I said, I want to encourage you to embark on your own 7-day mental cleanse starting today. Or you could pick another 7 days, but I like to encourage you to start today because you've got the momentum from our masterclass. And today you're going to be going deeper with me on these concepts. If we want a joyous life, we must think joyous thoughts. If we want a prosperous life, we must think prosperous thoughts. That's a quote from Louise Hay, Personal Growth, just a beautiful teacher in the personal growth field. So last week, we used the hypothetical example of imagine that you want to raise $1 million for your company. So using what we're learning here in our mental cleanse and how your thinking drives your results, whatever it is that you want, if you want to raise $1 million, whatever it is that you want professionally, you can't be blaming and complaining and talking about how hard and impossible it is. If you want to raise or do what it is that you want to do, you've got to think thoughts that support you getting there. If you want more harmony in your relationships, you can't be complaining about how difficult the people are in your life or being in resentment or stewing about other people. If you want to be more respected and valued as a leader, you can't go around thinking like a victim. My goal is to build a boutique, world-class coaching business that supports high-achieving business owners, entrepreneurs, corporate leaders, individuals like yourselves to truly live into your most exceptional career and life. And because I so believe in my goal and I see it happening, I think thoughts throughout my day. I have to be vigilant with my thinking to make sure that I'm supporting myself in my mind first in achieving what it is that I want. So last week you saw this graphic as well, how your thinking drives your results. And you might recall that we spoke a little bit about your consciousness, right? You have consciousness. In fact, you are a sliver of consciousness because consciousness itself is infinite. And it's what gives you that capacity to experience life. If you didn't have your consciousness, your awareness, you wouldn't have the experience of life, of your reality that you have. And your reality reflects your consciousness. It reflects your dominant thinking. So whether that's positive or that's negative, it absolutely impacts how you experience your life. Now, I was so glad to see that 66% of you expressed that you feel your awareness around your thinking has expanded. That makes me really happy to hear. And my strong wish for you is that your consciousness, your awareness continues to expand, right? That you're looking at your reality and realizing that it's a reflection of your deepest thinking and beliefs. And what I'm also hoping is that as a result of not only what we talked about last week, but also the daily exercise that you were encouraged to do. And even if you only did it once or twice, it in all likelihood expanded your awareness around your unconscious patterns, because it's your unconscious patterns that actually drive you. And we'll talk a little bit more about that today when we talk about the conscious mind and the subconscious mind. The most important the most important of all factors in your life is the mental diet on which you live. So Emmett Fox said that, and that's right from his book, The 7-Day Mental Diet. And you know, the idea here is an analogy to a food diet, right? We all know that the food that you feed your mind we all know that the food that you feed your body impacts your mind. And actually, before we got started, Tien and Avery and I were just chatting about, you know, it's so obvious that the food that you feed your body impacts your body. Why is it that most people don't even think about the food that you feed your mind? That it takes coming to a presentation like this that you really start to build that awareness. Because here's the bottom line. Whatever your dominant thoughts are, whatever you believe is true. It is true for you and it is your experience. So last week also, I shared with you this graphic about 2 things that you must know: where you are and where you're going. And hopefully all of you are really clear now about where you're going as a result of the assignment also that you worked on. But again, I want you just for right now, for the moment, to focus here on where you are. And by where you are, I mean mentally. Where you are mentally, not where you are geographically, because where you are mentally is what determines how you live your life, how you earn, how you experience relationship. It determines your reality, how you experience life. And it looks so easy, right? You're here, you want to go to your goals, you want to reach your goals. It seems so simple. So why are so many people stuck? Because the truth is that most people are stuck down here. Most people are stuck down here in, you could say, low frequency thinking, in limited thinking, in playing too small. So I'm going to put that question out to all of you, and I'd love your responses in the chat. What keeps people in limited thinking? What keeps people in such limited thinking? What keeps people stuck? And Just get your responses. I'd love to, I'd love to see your fear. Yep. Yep. Fear. Yes. Fear is a big one. Low confidence. Yes. Paradigms. Yes. Fear, doubt, scarcity habits, how you were raised. Yep. Yep. All of that. The impact of prior problems. Yes. All of that. Lack of skills, high stress limit. That's right. High stress limits ability to think. Yes, that is absolutely correct. And I see Michelina here wrote paradigms, and that's exactly it. It's our paradigms that keep people stuck. And your paradigms is your mental programming. Because the bottom line is that most people are stuck. And in fact, some of you may have had really great intentions to fill out the worksheet every day last week, and you didn't get to it, right? And that's your paradigm. So let's talk about what exactly is your paradigm. So your paradigm is your mental programming. It's multitudes of habits deep in your subconscious mind. It has almost exclusive control over your habitual behavior. And here's the bottom line. Most of your behavior is habitual. It's subconscious. You're running on autopilot. Think about your morning routine. You probably get up in the morning, put on your slippers, throw your bathrobe on, go to the bathroom, then you shuffle over to your kitchen, make your cup of coffee. And if you live with someone, you don't want to mess with their routine, right? So whatever your morning routine is, the thing is, you've probably been doing it for a long time. It's your programming. It's your programming that literally has you running on autopilot without conscious awareness. So going a little bit deeper here, your paradigm is fixed ideas and beliefs, subconscious. It's happening in the subconscious mind that creates behaviors known as habits. So some of your mental programming you pick up genetically, but most of it you pick up environmentally. And particularly when you're a young child, like under the ages of 7. Under the ages of 7, your brainwave development is mostly in what's called delta and theta waves. And this level of brainwave is when your subconscious mind is wide open. So that's when your mental programming really happens. As a young child, your subconscious mind is wide open. And today, as an adult, over 90% of your behavior is habitual. And a lot of your thinking is habitual, right? That's what we're going to be focusing on, is starting to interrupt those limiting habitual patterns. So your paradigm literally keeps you boxed in. It can control your logic. So for example, you all heard me share last week that in 2009, I left the corporate world. But what I didn't tell you was that my father, who was a very successful executive, I remember he came to visit me shortly after that. And some of our most heated and important conversations often take place in the kitchen, right? So there we were in my kitchen in Lincoln, Massachusetts, and he was trying to persuade me not to leave the corporate world. To him, it didn't make logical sense. Why would I leave a position that paid me 6 figures, that gave me benefits? I was a single parent. It just felt too risky for my father. I had benefits, right? I had developed so much competence. I was respected. It didn't make logical sense to him. Or perception. Think about your paradigm controls your perception. Perception is your point of view. Sometimes we can be so locked into your point of view, but the truth is there are multiple points of view. Perception allows you to see things in different ways, but your paradigm can keep you boxed in to a certain point of view. Or creativity. Often we think that only artists and musicians are creative, but everyone is creative. Or time. Can anyone here relate to feeling like you never have enough time? Well, that's your paradigm, because time is fixed. The most effective CEO in the world has the same amount of time as a homeless person. We can't change time, it's fixed, but you can control your activities. But we tend to be boxed in thinking that we don't have enough time. So what I want to do now is to share with you some really, really fundamental information about your mind in order to support you in achieving what it is that you want and being more and more vigilant of controlling and training your thinking to support you in achieving what it is that you want. So you see here a simple graphic, we call it a stick person. And this simple graphic, don't think of it as like a comic book drawing. It's actually something very, very serious that will help you to understand the relationship between your mind, your behavior, and your results, and the influence of your paradigm, of your mental programming. And the idea goes back to Dr. Thurman Fleet. He was a healing arts professional in Texas in the 1930s. And he came up with this graphic as a way to help medical doctors and healing arts professionals to understand, because he was frustrated that they were treating the symptoms, not the causes of illness. And one of my very best teachers in the personal growth world, Bob Proctor, uses this graphic to help teach the relationship between your mind, your behavior, and your results. So I want to direct your attention to what you see here as the body. And the reason it's so small relative to what we're seeing here as the mind, represented by the head, is because your body is an instrument of the mind. The mind actually gives orders to the body, and the body executes the orders. And what we're seeing here as the head has two parts, the conscious mind and the subconscious mind. And, people might argue that the mind is more complex than these two parts, but for purposes of this illustration, this is more than sufficient. And stay with me here, because this information is absolutely essential for you to understand in order to be able to apply it in service of achieving what it is that you want. So your conscious mind, what we're seeing here as the top hemisphere, is your thinking mind. This is your educated mind. This is your intellect. This is the part of your mind that's actually listening to me, gathering information. This is the part of your mind that's connected to your external world through your sensory factors. What we see here as the lower hemisphere is your subconscious mind. This is your emotional mind. This is where your paradigms are. This is the seat of your mental programming. And as I mentioned a few minutes ago, your mind gives orders to your body takes action, and your action create your results. So if you want to understand what your dominant paradigms, what your mental programming is, you have only to look at your results, because our results don't lie. Our results give us objective feedback of the root cause of your behavior, which is your paradigm. It's in your subconscious mind. And remember what I said a few minutes ago, that for a child, right, a child's subconscious mind is wide open. So if a child is told things like you're just not smart enough, or if a child learns up that, money doesn't grow on trees and is the root of all evil, or grows up around disharmonious relationships, that becomes part of their mental programming that is carried into adulthood. So this slide, I'm going to spend a few more minutes on, because this is where there's critical information. I want all of you taking notes here. So at the level of your conscious mind, you can make choices. You can accept or reject information. The subconscious mind works in entirely the opposite way. Your subconscious mind cannot reject. It only accepts, particularly information that it receives that has an emotional charge to it. Also, it can't distinguish between what's real and what's imagined. It experiences either what's real or what's imagined as the truth, as real. So think about like great athletes, right? We know that great athletes visualize their success. They see themselves winning, having their Olympic gold medal performance in their minds even before it's happening. And this is why for all of you, you must learn to be so vigilant with your thinking. Because whatever you're planting into your mind and your subconscious mind is accepting is going to become real for you, whether it's real in the world or real in your imagination. So you may as well use this to your advantage. You know, the fact is that you are always mentally rehearsing because you think in pictures. So you are always mentally rehearsing. So one of my key goals for all of you is that you are using your mind in service to mentally rehearse what it is that you want and not what you don't want. So you must be so vigilant with your thinking. So let's direct this back to you. What are you thinking? What are you feeding your mind? The soil of your subconscious mind is fertile soil. Whatever you plant into that soil, your subconscious mind will deliver to you in terms of your life and how you experience your results. Remember, it can't tell the difference between what's real and what's imagined. So if you keep imagining worst case scenarios, that's what you know, right? That's how you experience life. What I want to encourage you is to start thinking best case scenarios, start thinking life affirming, start thinking possibility. Are you thinking thoughts that are supporting your goals, what it is you want to achieve? Or are you thinking thoughts that are negating what it is that you want to achieve? And last week, and specifically on the assignment that I shared with you last week, you began that journey of really looking closely at your dominant habitual thinking and starting to interrupt it and reframe it. You also got really clear about what your goals are, what it is you want to achieve in the next 12 months. And that is essential because you want to be moving yourself. You want to be training yourself, as Emmett Fox says here, to train yourself to choose the subject of your thinking at any time, and particularly to support your goals, to train yourself to think thoughts that support you in achieving your goals, in becoming the man or woman who is achieving what it is that you want. So for what I want to invite all of you also to begin today is to embark in earnest on your own 7-day mental cleanse, where you will become really vigilant, where you will start training yourself to choose the subject of your thinking, because you have 100% control over your thinking. You've got to train yourself to exercise that. And the reason we're doing this is because you've got to align your thinking. You've got to train yourself to think at a higher octane level, to think like the man or woman who is achieving your goals, who has the results that you want, even before it's happening. Because you have got to get out of that low frequency thinking and move yourself into that higher octane, higher frequency thinking. Last week, I shared the example of the cell phone, right? That everything is energy and thinking is potent energy. You are always emitting an energetic signature. So let's talk about your 7-day mental cleanse now. So for 7 days, you want to be vigilant, hyper-focused on the quality of your thinking and interrupting negative and limited thinking and reframing it to be life-affirming thinking that supports you in achieving what you want, that supports you in being the most exceptional version of you. So let's talk about what exactly do we mean by negative thinking? Well, Emmett Fox says any thought of failure, disappointment, or trouble, any thought of criticism, spite, jealousy, condemnation of others, self-condemnation, any kind of limitation or pessimistic thinking. And, one way I think you can think about it is that if you don't feel good, then you're probably involved in some negative thinking, because positive thinking should help you to feel lighter, more buoyant, more in love with life. So one way to tune into is how you're thinking. There's a heaviness. It's a lower frequency. So negativity, I do want to mention during your 7-day mental cleanse, negativity is going to bubble up. It just is, okay? The point is, though, you don't want to dwell on it. You don't want to entertain it. Last week, you learned a technique to interrupt it and then reframe it. I may have shared with you that I have a go-to mantra, which is all is well, everything is happening for my highest good. All is well, everything is happening for my highest good. That's one way that, if I don't have the time to perfectly frame something, I'll go to my go-to, all is well, everything is happening for my highest good. And it absolutely turns negativity. So I want to give you now some guidelines for your own 7-day mental diet. And Avery, if you could share the worksheet for today, it's 2 pages. The first page is what I'll be sharing here right now as guidelines. The second page is a worksheet that I encourage you to print it out or refer to it every day for 7 days. And to really be vigilant with that. So the 5 guidelines to help you succeed at your own 7-day mental cleanse is number 1, make a commitment. Make a commitment. So put it in your calendar. If you're starting today, which I encourage you because you're going to have momentum, make today day 1. Have it be day 1 of your 7 days. Your last day will be next Monday of your 7 days. And then you'll see on the worksheet, there's a little place where you can sign your name. Okay, so you are signing your name to this commitment to participate in your own 7-day mental cleanse. Number 2, for 7 days, you're going to be really conscious. You're going to be really aware of your thinking, of your habitual thinking. And the important thing is not to dwell in the negativity. The negativity, the limited thinking, the pessimism, criticism, resentment, whatever, all of it might bubble up. Don't dwell on it. That is the point. Do not dwell on it. Turn it, reframe it, like you learned in the exercise last week. Interrupt it and reframe it. Number 3, accept the challenge. The bottom line is it's going to be hard. As Emmett Fox says, he uses the word strenuous. It's strenuous. And that's because of your paradigms. Your paradigms is your mental programming. And your mental programming wants to keep you stuck. It wants to keep you in its old patterns. So you might feel a lot of resistance coming up from your paradigm, but accept the challenge. It's going to be hard. It's going to be messy. Be okay with that. You're going to burst through all of that. Number 4, refocus if you lapse. If you fall off, just get back on. Refocus. In fact, you might feel that things happen that rock your world in ways that, wow, why is this happening during my week of mental cleanse? Just refocus, right? When the negativity comes up, just refocus. If you lapse, just get back on. Emmett Fox actually says that if you lapse, to take a few days off and start all over again, you decide what's best for you. What I really believe is that, life is always going to be happening. So my preference for you is pick the 7 days and stick to the 7 days. If you lapse, just get back on and stick to the 7 days. And then number 5, is celebrate your wins. So if you, got triggered by someone, say in your home, and you caught yourself and you didn't engage, and you said to yourself, all is well, everything is happening for my highest good. Celebrate that, right? Celebrate your wins, even the little ones. If you have a lapse, celebrate that you notice your lapse and you get back on. Focus on the positive. Learn to celebrate your wins. So these are the 5 guidelines. And then I have a few tips I want to share with you as well. Number 1 is to set an intention. And this is on your worksheet as well. So set an intention for the 7 days. And I'll just read one that I came up with. So for 7 days, I am carefully observing my thoughts. During this time, when I notice a negative thought or feeling, I will lovingly interrupt it and turn it to a positive thought. I am kind and compassionate with myself. So that's an example of setting an intention for your 7-day cleanse. Number 2 is reserve 10 minutes twice a day, once in the morning and once in the evening. And during these 10 minutes, morning and evening, you should be working on your worksheet. In the morning, review your goals. So whatever that goal is that you came up with for 12 months from now, write it out every single morning. Your 12-month goal should be the same one every day. Number 2 is review your intention. Write out your intention for the 7 days. Write it out every morning. Then every evening, review your wins. What are 3 wins that you had today around your 7-day mental cleanse? And then also review 3 areas where you are reframing limited thinking to more life-affirming thinking. And during these 10 minutes, I want to encourage you to also study a little bit. If you have the book, The 7-Day Mental Diet, could be a good time to review that, just to feed your mind these good ideas. So the other thing is that for any of you who might want support with this, you're welcome to join my private Facebook group. I did a training last summer on the 7-day mental cleanse, and there are recordings that can guide you right through the 7 days. They're really short. Avery, if I could ask you to share the link for my Facebook group, and that's also going to be on the worksheet. Just follow the directions very clearly, and you'll be able to follow along in the Facebook group. They're recorded daily encouragement, so to speak, to support you. And number 3 is tap into gratitude. You know, gratitude is one of the highest feeling emotions. When you think thoughts of gratitude, you feel great. So tap into gratitude. Think about everything that you're grateful for. You know, sometimes I'll get as granular as I'm so grateful for the running water that I have. I'm so grateful for the roof over my head. When we tap into gratitude, you feel good because you realize how much good there is in your life. So we're wrapping up now. And I just want to quickly summarize again the key objectives of this 2-part masterclass. You know, think about it as a 14-week period, so to speak, for you to really build that awareness, understand the power of your thinking. And then number 2, to commit in the 2nd week to 7 days of your own mental cleanse, where you are cleansing yourself of limited thinking. So remember, part 1 was just kind of setting you up, helping you to build some awareness. That was the first week. Part 2, which is today and for the next 7 days, is for you to, in earnest, to commit to your own 7-day mental cleanse. And for those of you who are really serious about improving your results, I encourage you to make that commitment for yourself. And like I said, if you'd like a little extra support, feel free to join my private Facebook group, where you'll find some, I'll direct you once you're there to recordings about the 7-day mental cleanse. I am. Use I am statements more. There is power when you say I am. You are declaring to your subconscious mind. You are declaring to the energy field. You are declaring to greater consciousness that you are powerful, that you have what it is that you want. So I am invested in my growth. I am committed to achieving my goals. I am committed to changing my results. I am statements are very powerful. And before we open up to Q&A, just a quick reminder, please feel free to connect with me on social media. I hope some of you will join my private Facebook group. And as I mentioned, I'm also opening up 5 strategy consultations to the first 5 of you who email me. And here is my email address, stephanie@stephaniehesslercoach.com. So I'd love now to open it up for any questions. I will stop the share. Okay.
Thank you so much, Stephanie. I'm personally a big advocate for mental health, so I will definitely be trying this out myself. All right, if anyone has any questions, please post in chat. You can also DM me. If you would like to ask them verbally, you may also raise your hand on Zoom. We do have a few questions that came in, so let's start off with the first one. All right, going off of the power of the subconscious mind, if you truly believe that you will be successful, will your subconscious produce thoughts and influence actions to in turn make you successful? Does this also happen if you believe you will fail?
That's right. Yes. So, and actually, I'm going to refer to another author whose name is Maxwell Maltz. He wrote a book called Psycho-Cybernetics. And for any of you who are interested, the masterclass I did last year for CONNECTpreneur, your high-performing self-image, which is on the CONNECTpreneur, your YouTube site, does refer a lot to passages from Psycho-Cybernetics. And Dr. Maltz was a medical doctor. He happened to be a plastic surgeon, but his book is based on a lot of research and understanding about how the mind works. And what he says is that your mind is designed as a success mechanism. But if you don't consciously give it ideas that are in harmony with the success that you want, and you're unconsciously giving it, feeding it maybe those limiting thoughts, those failure thoughts, unconsciously, your mind is working as a failure mechanism. So going back to what I said, during the presentation, whatever you believe is true for you, and your subconscious mind will deliver. Your subconscious mind itself is impartial. It's like the soil. Think about if you were planting in a garden, right? The soil doesn't care if you're planting poison ivy or the most beautiful roses. The soil will deliver, right? And your mind is exactly the same way. So you've got to work in harmony with the way that your mind works. And yes, the more you plant the ideas into your subconscious mind, your job is to be vigilant, not just once a year when you listen to a presentation like this, daily, daily. High achieving individuals like Tien, and I know this because Tien and I are very close friends and accountability partners. He trains his mind every single day. I train my mind every single day. So as you keep impressing those images of what you want in your subconscious mind, you're creating new paradigms. And yes, that absolutely affects your behavior. Really good question.
Thank you, Stephanie. Next question is, what are your thoughts on whether to keep this 7-day mental cleanse to ourselves or to tell others about it? I think Emmett Fox says to keep it a secret while you're doing it. Do you have any thoughts either way?
Yeah, I would say keep it to yourself, because for the simple reason that you want to be careful that you don't get distracted from your own mental diet. If you have an accountability partner or somebody who you really trust, who will support you on the journey, then I would say that that's fine to share it with someone who you really, really trust. But for most people, I would say to keep it to yourself. And especially for you to be very vigilant that it's not your job to fix other people or to have other people fix you during your mental diet, right? So I think keeping it private is probably the better way to go, particularly if you have lapses, which typically does happen during the 7-day mental diet. You don't want somebody else to be in your face about it, right? So I would recommend keeping it to yourself unless it's someone you're kind of linking arms with to do it together, or someone who is really, really going to be supportive.
Great, thank you.
Great question.
All right, next question. How do you cope with someone in your life that is toxic or fairly negative? It is difficult to maintain a positive mindset if those around you are negative. What do you recommend?
Yeah. So that is hard. That is really, really hard. But you have to know that you are in charge of your thinking. That, people outside of us might trigger us, but how you choose to respond is in your control. Viktor Frankl, who wrote the beautiful book, Man's Search for Meaning, said between stimulus and response, there is a space. And in that space is your freedom to choose. Okay. And that's where your freedom is, right? When you have that choice. But as you notice the negativity around you, I mean, what I find is that you might have to make decisions, right? You might have to make decisions. Are you going to just accept this? Or are you going to want to maybe change your life in a way to support yourself? But one thing that's really important to understand is that don't count on changing other people. Don't even try to fix other people. Do not lecture other people that they should be doing the 7-day mental diet. The best you can do in order to support people who maybe have negativity is for you to be the best version of you. Be a model and lift others up to your higher frequency. That's a really good question, because there are difficult people in our homes and in our work environments and out in the world.
Thank you, Stephanie. Okay, next question. Is it possible to think too positive? Could thinking too positive lead to disappointment when things don't go as planned? How do you deal with loss of hope and disappointment?
Yeah, that's a really great question. I guess, I mean, I like to think that you can't be too positive. You want to be in that highest frequency that you possibly can be. That's why I recommend practices like gratitude, emotions like love, appreciation, faith, gratitude, right? These are very high vibration emotions. I think where maybe this question is driving at is that what's really important is that you are moving forward with actions towards your goals. Because if you're not actually taking actions, then you might be being overly positive to the point of being maybe delusional, right? So you want to be absolutely careful that in your positivity, you're also taking actions. And, I like to think of someone who I think was in history an incredibly evolved human being was Gandhi. His faith in life was so deep, and he trained himself. He didn't start his life that way. He trained himself. He was like the 7-day mental diet, over decades. He trained himself. And so he's an example to me of, even against the worst of circumstances, he was jailed, he was criticized, he was beaten, he was persecuted. because of his mental discipline, he maintained that faith, also in his dharma, to be able to help his fellow citizens to gain freedom. So really, really good question. And that's my take on it.
Thank you, Stephanie. All right, next question is, how do you deal with people who may look at your ethnicity in a negative way, particular in business or when stopped by the police?
So how to deal with people who may look at your ethnicity in a bad way, particularly when you're stopped by the police?
In business or when stopped by the police?
Yeah. So, I mean, unfortunately, we have, not all of our consciousness out in the world is high vibration, right? We have all kinds of attitudes that are represented out in our world. And so again, I come, almost like using those examples of some of our very, very finest leaders and examples of disciplined thinking are some of our civil rights teachers, right? And activists like Gandhi or Martin Luther King or Nelson Mandela, that in spite of the very difficult circumstances, including, racial difficulties that we have even in our own country in today's world, that we must come with that right thinking about your power and your potential and be in that highest thinking about others as well.
Thank you, Stephanie. All right, next question. What is your stance of doing self-reflection and self-healing on your own versus seeking professional help, such as a therapist or coach?
Yeah, so I am a big fan of getting guidance. As someone who tried to do it myself for many, many years, I think that, a well-trained therapist or coach can make all the difference. They bring wisdom and experience that you may not have, right? And so seeking help, I'm a big, big, big believer in seeking help from experienced guides and mentors. And by the way, there are so many great books. I mean, Mental Diet is a great example, right? I get to sort of know the wisdom of Emmett Fox from reading The Mental Diet. And as you heard me say, I've read this book probably close to 50 times, because reading once is not enough, right? We've got to really have his wisdom and his experience go deeper into my own subconscious mind. So I'm a big fan of seeking, linking arms with experienced guides, mentors, coaches, teachers. Great question.
Thank you, Stephanie. All right, next question. What do you recommend to someone who isn't sure about their goals?
Oh, that's a really great question. So, because sometimes that comes up, right? That we're not yet sure what it is exactly that we want. So what I would say, if you aren't sure about your goals, then make your short-term goal that you're going to allow yourself an exploration period to get clear about your goals, right? That your short-term goal becomes, I'm going to get clear about what my goals are, even if it takes you 3 or 4 months or more.
That's great. Thank you, Stephanie. All right, if anyone else has any questions, please go ahead and put it in the chat, or you can raise your hand. I just put the 7-Day Mental Diet by Emmett Fox link for Amazon, the link for that in chat. I'm also going to put Stephanie's Facebook group in there as well, and her email. So if you want to go ahead and contact Stephanie. All right, and if we don't have any more questions, I think we will go ahead and end it here. If anyone wants to stay for a few more minutes, you can go ahead and stay and we can go ahead and take your question. But thank you all for joining. Stephanie, if you have anything else you would like to say.
I just want to thank you and Tian again for hosting me, and to everyone who's here today, this absolutely wonderful community. What beautiful energy we've had last week and again this week. And I want to encourage for all of you, embark on your own 7-day mental cleanse. You will start to experience the power of your own positive thinking. Thank you so much for having me.